It's the Jeff Blair Show with Stephen Brunt on Sportsnet 590 The Fans, and now on Sportsnet regional channels as we cover the, I guess we're going to call it breaking news, the Jose Bautista soap opera and the collapse of the Jay Bruce deal. I want to talk about that Jay Bruce deal because I find this, to me, Jose Bautista, that was going to be said at some point this week. So it's great fun. It's interesting. It's going to make for great calls in about another 12 minutes. I can't wait to get to that. But the Jay Bruce deal, and I'll reset this for people. The Toronto Blue Jays, the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim, and the Cincinnati Reds apparently had a 3-team deal worked out. It was originally reported that Michael Saunders would go to the Angels, Jay Bruce would come to the Blue Jays, and that there would be prospects going to the Cincinnati Reds. This is interesting for a couple of reasons. First of all, the net payroll gain for the Blue Jays out of that deal, unless the Reds were kicking in money, the net payroll gain was $9.6 million, which pretty much flies in the face of everything everybody thinks this front office is doing. Essentially, they were assuming an extra $9.6 million this year. Now, that to me suggests that there was another domino to fall, whether it was possibly moving Edwin or possibly moving R.A. Dickey. And R.A. Dickey has, I can tell you, from a couple of pretty good sources, the Jays have had a lot of feelers on R.A. Dickey. Anyhow, that deal fell apart last night. Originally, it was reported that it fell apart because of a medical issue with Michael Saunders Medical. And, of course, Michael Saunders missed most of last year after suffering a torn meniscus injury. So we came into the office today thinking that deal was probably dead because of Michael Saunders' health. Ken Rosenthal of Fox Sports ends up reporting that the medical that caused this deal to die in the vine involved a Blue Jays minor leaguer. So, and this is the first we'd heard of a Blue Jays minor leaguer being involved in the deal. So my guess is what that means is that one of the minor leaguers going to the Reds was going to be from the Jays through the Angels. And I'm wondering, Steve, if maybe, and this is where it really gets interesting, I wonder if that minor leaguer was good enough to have the Reds pick up half of Jay Bruce's salary or $4 million of the salary. Like this to me is the most interesting thing in the past 24 hours because it just flies in the face of everything we thought about the Blue Jays.
Yeah, that is intriguing because I've been trying to make sense of it since I heard about it. Jay Bruce won for straight up for Michael Saunders. All things being equal, that's an interesting question. Jay Bruce is a pretty good bounce-back candidate at age 29, but he's a swing-and-miss guy, loads of power, gives you a left-handed bat, which you need, but he's not as good an outfielder as Michael Saunders, and Michael Saunders, when healthy, is pretty close to Jay Bruce, minus a bit of the power, right? But when you add the $10 million differential, I don't get it. So there had to be something else. Mm-hmm. Unless Mark Shapiro and Ross Atkins really, really love Jay Bruce. And,
which is possible.
Different guys like different players for different reasons. So that it would make sense if there was a way for the Reds to absorb some salary, and I'm not sure that they would unless they got something back more than whatever the Angels were going to give them, which sounded like it wasn't going to be much. But, God, would the Jays deal anyone of value out of their depleted farm system? Top end of their farm system is depleted anyway. That's again, because your net gain is however much Jay Bruce, you think Jay Bruce is better than Michael Saunders. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure I would give up anything for the differential between Jay Bruce and Mike Saunders.
No, and I tried to look, Stephen, sort of look ahead to next year in this deal, and the only thing I could come up with was that perhaps, Ross Atkins and Mark Shapiro have looked at the free agent market, and there's nothing out there. And this is another thing that has to be said for Jose Bautista. There people are going to say there's no way a 38-year-old guy or a 37-year-old guy or whatever age Jose Bautista is going to get 5 years at $25 million because that's essentially what Jose Bautista is asking for.
Yeah, unless he, I hate to say it, Jeff, I think it might be a little more than that.
Yeah, unless he's an idiot, which he isn't. It's 5 years at $25 to $30 million a year, in that range. There's nobody out there in free agency next year. There's Jose and Edwin, and then you're getting down to guys like Matt Wieters. Mm-hmm. There's no impact bat out there. So if people out there are saying there's no way anybody's dumb enough to pay Jose Bautista this money, I'll tell you what, there's about 24 teams that are dumb enough to pay Jose Bautista $25 million a year.
Yeah,
that's just the way it is.
They're they're going to have to believe that he's still an outfielder.
Right.
I'm not sure they're going to pay him that to DH. So, and let's see what Jose Bautista looks like in right field this year. But yeah, you're right. No, the market's going to dictate, right? And it's always about what else is out there. That's also a part of it. So, yeah. So is Jay Bruce a 1-year Jose Bautista replacement? Because there's an option, obviously a team option for that second year. I guess that's possible. Although,
I mean, you could hide that bat in the middle of the order, I guess, as your left-handed power hitter.
Yep.
If you wanted to.
I just think somebody there likes Jay Bruce a lot.
Yeah.
Probably more than you like him or I like him.
Sure.
But if they have $10 million in payroll wiggle room, that's a very interesting thing.
Well, then it's a positive.
Yes.
That's a huge positive because now basically all our preconceived notions about what Mark Shapiro and Ross Atkins are doing this year have been wrong.
Well, it also would suggest to me, without knowing, that there's been a little bit of an ownership rethink in the last few months.
Well, we do know, don't we, that the Jays ownership, Rogers is going to put about $250 million into the Rogers Center.
Yeah.
At some point over the next 5 years. So, I mean, who knows? Again, I certainly don't travel around in those circles. I know you do, but I don't know if they talk to you about it when you guys are having wine. I guess it's possible.
Well, I think
I noticed you didn't answer that.
I didn't answer that, no. If they have another $10 million in payroll, then I think that there's been a rethink. If Cincinnati was going to take back a big hunk of that money, then we're talking about something else. And if the deal never happens, I guess we'll never know for sure. But it would be nice to think that these guys have more wiggle room. And in terms of trading somebody away to make up that deficit, I wouldn't do it for Jay Bruce.